9th day of June 2026. I now call this regularly scheduled meeting of the Big Spring City Council to order. At this time, our fire chief, Jay Holt, will lead us in an invocation followed by the pledge.
Let's pray. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. Father, we thank you for the many blessings that you bestowed upon us. Father, I pray that as we conduct this meeting, Father, that you guide and direct us, that you would give wisdom and guidance to the council members. We thank you for them and the service that they provide to our city. Father, we just ask that you be with our troops at home and abroad, protect them and bring them home safe. And we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. Pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you, Chief. Okay, at this time, we'll open the meeting for public comment. Members of the public are entitled to speak on any topic. Additionally, members of the public may comment on any action item before or during its consideration. Speakers are requested to stand at the podium to state their name and address. Speakers should fill out the form at the podium and turn it into the city secretary. Please do not exceed 5 minutes. Now, once again, by way of repetition, if you are here tonight about any topic, regardless of whether or not it happens to be on our agenda or not, you are free to address council at this time. If you are, however, here to address a topic that is going to be the subject of an agenda item later on, that's going to be deliberated and voted on, you may decide to wait until that time to visit with council. However, you're not required to do so. You can address council at this time. So we'll proceed.
Check. Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, staff, citizens. I come to you today as a member of the West Texas Vietnam Memorial Board. I just want to make the public aware that we're having our first annual golf tournament at Comanche Trails on June the 27th. I think everybody knows what's going on with the memorial. You know, we're looking at tying that into Hangar 25 in the airport out there. I know a press release went out about a week ago, and Mr. Luis Hinojos actually had a sit down with K-Best today, an interview about 15 minutes, and I just want to get it out in the community. This is a fundraiser community to make that memorial grow. You know, we had a groundbreaking last November at our blowout for the bunker, and there's a website. There you'll probably see flyers around town that have Mr. Hinojos and Mr. Emerson's name on it. Feel free to reach out to me too as well. We're looking for sponsorships, any kind of donations we can get. This is the first annual, and we really want it to grow. There is a address, events.golfstatus.com, /event /West WTVM. It's $800 for a four-man scramble. And so I just want to let the public aware, as well as all of y'all, know that we've got that going on, and we'd appreciate your support in any way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Botenheimer. Okay, anyone else wish to address council at this time? If you'll approach the podium. Mr. Arms, you may proceed, sir.
Okay, so I was here last time, of course, for another issue of carport. That's going to be taken care of next week, but I'm still fighting. I don't understand the city, the way they do things, the code enforcement, because give you an example. 2 years ago, I received a letter from the city saying that I was parking on my front yard, which I know is a code violation. Well, I wasn't, because my house is in the front right here, and just one side of it's not concrete yet, but it's been a driveway still. It's a dirt driveway. But then when I looked at the form, I looked down there, it said exceptions, handicapped vehicles. So they're writing me a code, they're writing me a letter saying I'm violating code enforcement, but yet I wasn't. Because both of my vehicles have handicap on them. Okay, that's one thing. But yet, 2 blocks away, they're moved away now, but 2 blocks away, they had one guy on this corner of this, on this flooded corner of the street working on cars, and they had like 4 or 5 old cars sitting this way on the street, and this side too, the other guy was a mechanic doing the same thing. But my main concern now is, I brought it up last time, the empty lots I have that are next to me at 1317, 1319, and also there's the one on 1318. And this is getting to be serious because we're starting to see more animals coming through there. We're starting to see the lady over here on 1318. There's a little lady that lives in 1316. She is a widow woman living by herself. Her husband was a school teacher. He passed away a few years ago. She lives in a house by herself. But there's 2 cars that's been abandoned there for over 2 years. Not just 6 months, 2 years. And she has noticed that rats have been in there. Now, when we start getting rats in our neighborhood, when we start getting all these other things that are, that can bring disease to us, that can bring a lot of problems. I don't see what the problem is that they can't sit there and fix it. Because they even talked about my car like that, but yet 3 blocks down, I've even reported there's one guy's got like 6 abandoned cars on the 1600 block. It's been there for years.
What's that address, sir?
Mine?
No, the one which you said the abandoned cars are in the front yard?
1603 and 1601. They have been reported numerous times to the council. And I don't understand that. I don't understand why they can't do anything about it. Because this little old lady lives by herself. She shouldn't have to put up with maybe rats coming into her home. It's possible it's maybe happening, who knows? But the other thing is, she even paid an individual $100 out of her pocket to mow the grass on that side of the street. She shouldn't have to do that. It's not her property. She keeps her property like me. She keeps it up very nice and clean. So why can we not get anything done? Because all 3 houses, all the taxes are behind. All 3 houses, one of them, like I say, had been burned up about 5 years ago. The other one next to me has been over 2 years ago, and they can't do nothing. I think it's a little bit of time wearing. And the other one across the street, 2 or 3 years. And the thing got me was that when I brought this up, the last city councilman I came to, they sent a guy over there they gave him a warning. It was the individual, it was his son, they gave him a warning, if you don't clean this lot up in a week, you'll be fine. They never said anything before till it was brought out. But the thing is, that particular lot may be property of the state because I know the people very well. And when the mother had died, that in the nursing home, they used that house as collateral to pay her nursing home fees. So he is confused too. So it never did get cleaned up. So there is no reason at all that we need to live in filth. There's no reason. It don't matter what neighborhood we live in. There's no reason for it. I want to know why. And that's all I ask, is they come in there and take care of these lots like they're supposed to. And they haven't done it. And they ignore it. I've called, I keep track record of how many times I call. They don't do anything. So,
Okay, Mr. Bowles, where are we on these lots, particularly these lots at 1317, 1318, 1319? Is it Wood Street or what street are we talking?
Wood Street.
Wood Street. Where are we on those?
I know that there are open cases for the 2 or 3 blocks down the street from them that have the multiple junk vehicles. We do have open cases on those. The ones that are right next to them, my understanding is that we have sent those to Purdue, Brandon, and Clark so that we could begin foreclosing on those properties and getting them out of the delinquent taxes and hopefully get them into somebody that will take care of those properties.
Okay, Mr. Hagan, at the next council meeting, I want you to report what Purdue, Brandon are doing about those 3 lots.
Yes, sir.
You know, we're not going to be on their schedule. We need to tell them, we need this done. Okay?
I'll have a report, sir.
Okay. Now, what about the 1601, 1603? That's where the cars are in the front yard?
yes, they've been reported on. I've even got it on my phone when I reported them, even back in December, even before that. And I leave people alone. I don't bother nobody, but when they come and try to write me a simple citation for something that wasn't even a citation, and they let us live in filth, there has to be something done.
Okay.
It's not fair to everybody that keeps their houses up over there.
Okay, next council meeting, I want to know what's being done about 1601, 1603, okay? Mr. Orange, we will look into those things and see if we can get something done,
Yes,
okay?
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your time. Tammy, remind me to bring those up at the next council meeting. Okay. Yes, ma'am?
My name is Willie Doss, and I bought a house in 2000 at 4026 Vicky. And I need a water cutoff. And fact is, I've had several problems, and I've called several times about having a water cutoff for my house. And like the other day, I had a man that mowed my yard, but he hit my faucet and broke it, so he had to fix it. I had to call the city to turn it off because he could not turn it off with his wrench. So then they didn't get it all the way off, so I had to call them back to come turn it all the way off so we could fix that faucet. Well, when we got through, they had to come back and turn it on. And they said there's a little man out there, about little gray-headed man. I stood out by the garage and watched him, and he worked and worked with that tool. He could not turn that water back on. He went and just threw it down, sit in his pickup, and waited for someone to come help him. So I need a cutoff there in case I have a water leak in the middle of the night, and I've had one before. Who's gonna come in the middle of the night, even get out of bed, much less come out there and turn it off? So I need a water cutoff at my house.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Dawes. Mr. Bowles, can you take care of this?
Yes, sir.
What was that address?
4026 Vicky.
Sandy.
And one other time when I did have a problem, the man across the street had to put a long wrench on it and beat it on it with his hammer to get that water off. And that's unacceptable. I should have better than that.
Let's see if we can't take care of that, Ms. Dawes.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am?
Yes, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Am I coming in good? Okay. I kind of wanted to address just the lack of accountability and pretty much the lack of consequences of some of the members and the employees here in the city. You know, we discussed the issues the last time with me trying to get a meeting with them and them for 3 years. So I've already proven, you know, I don't really have equal rights here. I went to do a bid for Albert. I didn't even get a scope of work, so I'm doing a blind bid. And then, you know, I tried to get with, you know, Andrew over some compensation over wrongful arrest, and that just didn't pan out. I kind of sent some of y'all the information of them lying and whatnot on this paperwork. So I'm trying to figure out, like, why is there no accountability? Why is there no consequences to what's going on? Like that, you know, that's a violation of your Fourth Amendment, violation of the equal opportunity, and nobody suffers consequences. You know, I had a wrongful arrest in 2016 from Amy Taft. She's still on the force, and that's proven. You know, the homeowners came and did the right thing. You know, other people are doing the right thing by me, you know, except for them. You know, I'm trying to have to reach out to outside help because I don't know what's going on. You know, I tried to give Andrew some stuff, and, you know, I understand he said I gave it to him a long time ago, but that's not the case. You know, I just recently gave it to him. But then I'm having an issue getting documentation for all this. They're blocking me up anywhere I go. You know, they illegally took my DNA in the jail. They didn't have a warrant. I'm trying to figure out. I messaged Chad. He just completely ignores me. I've tried to get a meeting with the mayor, with them for 3 years. For 3 years. That's a long time. So now I want to know, like, where's that accountability? Why come nobody faces any consequences? Because this is a violation of, you know, the Constitution, this is a violation of my rights, but yet nobody's held accountable. It's to the point where these lawyers will even tell you, like, no, we can't, we're not taking it, it's not in our best interest. Like, you're not here for your best interest. You're here for our best interest. He's here to represent them, not all the rest of the lawyers. So I'm trying to figure out, why is it that nobody wants to get into this or deal with this issue, like, at all? And it's to the point where I really want to know, like, where is that accountability at? Like, I told Medina for the email he sent me on Albert, pretty much it was like, yeah, we know, he knows, but we're not going to do nothing. And it's like, why? Honestly, and I told Medina, like, if it was up to me and y'all worked for my company, I would have fired y'all, honestly. I mean, I wouldn't let somebody treat my customers like that. I wouldn't let somebody treat, you know, my employees like that. No, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't. If you work for any other place, they're going to fire you for stuff like that. And there's just no lack of accountability whatsoever, no lack of consequences. And I want to know why. Like, it's been years, and the whole thing, you know, it was Swanson. And the stories that have come out, and like I said, I can't attest for nobody, I can only attest for myself. But I know that I personally went down there and made a complaint with the uniform officer, and if I'm not mistaken, I want to say it was Chad that was in the background, he was a uniform officer at the time. Where is it? Like, where's that complaint? Because I know I got it, like, I know I gave it to them. They're denying me documents out of the jail because they illegally took my DNA, and I told them, like, y'all do not have a warrant, y'all can't do that. They denied me bail until they got that sample. And on the paper that they tried to have me sign, I put on there, I do not consent. I do not consent to this because I knew it wasn't right. And I tried to get that document. No, you can ask some of the people around the courthouse and the federal, like, I've gone everywhere. And I've spoken with people directly because I don't get no answers over the phone. And it's like, why am I being denied this? Why is nobody willing to take this case in this town? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, they're here to represent the community, but yet they won't touch it. That makes no sense whatsoever to me. And it should honestly give you pause because it's been years. I've been waiting for years, that way I can prove a point, and still they ignore me. Like, they consistently ignore me, and it's like, I don't know who, you know, taught this Roy Cohn mentality, but something ain't right. When I'm being denied, you know, what should rightfully come to me, then I'm gonna ask questions. And I wanna know why there's no accountability and no consequences. That's what I wanna know. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hagan?
Mr. Mayor, Ms. Rios has threatened to sue this city, and I would recommend just not commenting on that. We do have an agenda item that we could discuss it in executive session.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. All right, was there anyone else wish to address council at this time? No one? Okay, we'll go then to item number 5, City Manager's Report. Mr. Darden.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. One item that came in late that we received at the airport was an event that's going to happen Saturday, this Saturday from 8:30 till 2 o'clock. And our FBO Galaxy will be sponsoring a memorial flight, so to speak, for our veterans. And the council is welcome to come out and meet those folks. And I'll let Mike give you a little bit more information about it, but I think it's something that is great for the community, and we didn't get notice till today that it was happening, so I'll let Mike tell you a little bit more about it.
Mayor and members of the City Council, Galaxy expects about 50 visitors, quite a bit of media presence from Midland and Big Spring. The event is to fly 8 veterans, I believe, 1 female veteran, and they will be flying in a vintage Stearman aircraft, which is a Classwing aircraft. It starts at, as Todd said, starts at 8 o'clock, and it's going to end somewhere between 1 and 2. Staff is providing support for the event as the airport sponsor. That's part of our obligation, and so we will have employees there. And we will also ensure that we have an ambulance on site in the event there's any medical issues.
Okay, all right, that's this Saturday.
Yes, sir. Okay. Mike put a flyer out at each council member's seat, so you're welcome to read that information, but I think it's something great for our veterans that they're sponsoring with Galaxy. The other items I have for the city manager's report is large item pickup for District 6. Mr. Marino's will be our last one for the half of the year, and that will be on June 17th. The number you need to call is 264-2501, 432-264-2501. If anybody wants to get on the list for large item pickup for District 6 on the 17th. And then an update on e-waste. It was short notice on the flyers and the notices for that, but we had a large participation and we collected 22 pallets of e-waste. So that was a good effort by the community and participating in that. I want to thank everybody that helped with that, including Keep Big Spring Beautiful. That's all I have at this time, Mayor and Council.
Okay, does anyone have any questions of Mr. Darden about any aspect of his report? Okay, moving on then to the next category of business under the category of consent items. We have 7 of those, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, and 12. We can vote on each of those separately, and if anyone wishes to have a vote on each one, in one particular, we can do that, or we can vote on them as a group. What is your pleasure?
I move we approve them by group.
All right, motion been made and seconded to approve items 6 through 12 in one vote. Is there any further discussion? Okay, I'll call the question then. All in favor indicate by voting yes, all opposed by no. Passes 6-0 unanimously. All right, going then to the next item on the agenda, the vouchers for May the 22nd and May the 29th of this year. Ms. Blackburn.
I reviewed the vouchers for May 22nd, 2026 in the amount of $810,848.95, and the vouchers for May 29th, 2026 for $59,549.43, and I found no discrepancies. I approve yeah.
I'll second.
Yeah.
Okay, motion been made and seconded that we approve Ms. Blackburn's report as to the vouchers. After having examined those vouchers, all in favor indicate by voting yes, all opposed by no. Passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda in the category of bids, we have 3 of those. First being number 14, consideration and possible action to award a bid for a new website for the Convention and Visitor Bureau. Ms. Himes.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. The Convention and Visitors Bureau is requesting approval of the vendor we've selected for our new website. We put an RFP out for it. Ultimately, we had 26 formal proposals that met our basic criteria. About 11 did not, and those were thrown out. Same as we had international ones, but for security reasons, we wanted to go with a American company. So ultimately, those 26 formal ones we went through. We used the weighting procedure that Mr. Medina had developed for us, and I put the results of our top 5 in your packet. We would like to go with ITI Digital, which was the cheapest and scored the highest of our top 5. We have a current website, but it's fairly old, especially as technology goes, and it's not mobile friendly, and nowadays about 76%, and I imagine it's going to grow higher, is going to be something that people go to their phones to do. Like laptops not really going to be a big thing anymore. So this is an item we'd budgeted knowing this was coming up, and we'd budgeted $75,000 for it, so this is underneath that amount. Did anyone have any questions?
Okay, anyone have any questions of Ms. Himes about this request from the Convention and Visitor Bureau?
I make a motion to approve item 14.
I second.
Okay. Anyone from the audience wish to speak to this matter? Okay, any further discussion? All right. Convention and Visitors Bureau has made a request to award the project to ITI Digital for the total sum of $69,600. All in favor indicate by voting yes, all opposed by no. Passes unanimously. Item number 15, consideration and possible action to award a bid for a portable litter fence system for the Big Spring Sandy landfill, and authorizing city manager, his designee, to executing necessary documents. Mr. Bowles.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is a budgeted item that we had concerning a litter fence. As we've gone out to our Big Sandy landfill, litters from the wind is a big problem, gets all over the landfill, and takes time and effort to get that resolved. We looked at a permanent fence a few years back. It was very expensive and only covered a quarter of what we call the cell, or the area that we put the trash in. It just was not feasible, especially since over the life of this landfill, we're gonna have 10 different cells. So this is a portable solution. We're purchasing 25 of these units that we can actually stack around our work face while we're working on the trash, and it will help alleviate some of the litter that's caused by high winds. We received 2 bids for this, and staff's recommending tarp armor in the amount of $180,000, and that's $20,000 less than we had budgeted. And I can answer questions anyone may have.
I have a question. Mr. Boyles, on the panels itself, how far do they cover? Is it like when you first go into the entrance of the cells here?
Yes.
The front part? Okay.
Yeah, so they were purchasing 25 of them, and each of them are 25 feet long. And so we would line them up. And then as the winds change, we're able to take some of those and move them accordingly.
And from my understanding, this would help tremendously as far as the dirt and the debris and stuff, correct?
Correct.
So what would we do without these panels, or some means to contain the trash?
Not when there's high winds. Right now, we don't have anything, and so when we have high winds come in, your trash blows if we can't get on top of it quick enough. And it actually blows out of the cell and onto our roads, onto our property line fencing, into any vegetation. And by our permit, we have to pick that up. We can't leave it like that. So we got to take employees to stop what they're doing in there, come out and pick that up, and then take it back. It takes a lot of time and effort to do so. So this will help alleviate that.
Okay, any further questions of Mr. Bowles about this matter? Mr. Darden?
We do have a perimeter fence, Mayor, but the first 60 feet of this cell is in ground. The other remaining 40 feet is above that. And so that 6-foot perimeter fence does help with catching some of the trash, but it doesn't get it all on those 60-mile-an-hour days that we have. So I think this fence will be much helpful in that area and stopping the wind blown from going onto our neighbor's property.
Okay, again, any further questions from members of the council of Mr. Darden or Mr. Bowles about this request? Any comments or questions by any member of the community?
I make a motion to approve item 15.
Okay, motion been made and seconded to approve the purchase of 25 portable litter fence panels from Tarp Armor in the amount of $180,237.50. All in favor indicate by voting aye or yes. All opposed by no. Passes unanimously. Item number 16, consideration and possible action to award a bid for a server replacement and authorizing the city manager or his designee to execute any necessary documents. Mr. Medina.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is a budgeted item. We're needing to replace this server. It's a critical server that runs most of our applications. The server that we're intending to replace with this new server is 5 years old. We had a situation here recently where we ran out of hard drive space. The current server has 7 terabytes of storage. The new one will have 21 terabytes of storage, which should address that issue. Also, it's just getting to the age that it needs to be replaced. So we're seeking approval for the purchase of a new server from Dell Technologies for $17,554.51. It's under budget. I'll answer any questions you might have.
Any questions, any member of the council or Mr. Medina about this request?
What's the life of this server?
Generally, anywhere from 3 to 5 years. And right now, we've got 27 terabytes of storage, and all the documents we save, videos and things of that nature, images, and just standard documents, that we're running out of space pretty quick. So.
Any questions from any member of the public about this matter? Call the question. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve item 16.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the purchase of a new server system for from Dell Technologies for $17,554.51. All in favor indicate by voting yes. All opposed by no. Passes unanimously. Now going to the items in the category of new business, we have 7 of those. First, item number 17, consideration and possible action to accept a grant from the F. Marie Hall Foundation to be used toward the construction of the new Big Spring Community Center. Ms. Himes.
Thank you, Mayor. I am requesting permission from the City Council to accept a grant of $3 million from F. Marie Hall Foundation. We feel very lucky and fortunate that they understand the importance of a community center to our town, and they have been enthusiastic supporters. We had originally been told to apply for $2.5 million, but they ended up giving us $3 million. So I would like to thank them for their generosity, and I would like permission to accept that, and that puts us a nice way towards where we need to be to hopefully get this project up and running and ground broke next year.
Okay, any questions from Ms. Himes about this matter? Any questions from any member of the public? What is your pleasure?
I make a motion to approve item 17.
Motion been made and seconded to accept a grant of the amount of $3 million from the F. Marie Hall Foundation to be used toward the construction of the new Big Spring Community Center. All in favor indicate by voting yes. All opposed by no. Passes unanimously. And incidentally, Ms. Himes, I want to thank you for all of your efforts in that endeavor. And I know you worked hard on that, so appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, item number 18, first reading of a resolution updating the personnel policies to comply with state law and giving the city manager authority to set procedures for handling public information requests. Mr. Medina.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The 2025 Texas Legislature, the House Bill, they adopted House Bill 4310, which kind of directs government bodies on how to handle information requests from council members and members of that nature. Right now, we have a couple of resolutions that conflict with that new House bill. So what we're asking for is to amend the Section 7, Article 9 in our personnel policies to comply with the new House Bill 4310. And what this does is it's going to change Resolution 16-2020 and Resolution 23-2020. And what it does is to repeal conflicting provisions contained in these two resolutions. It also amends Section 7 of the personnel policies to address public information requests from council members. Currently, the way the information is handled is if one council member requests some information, it goes to legal department looks at it, identifies it as good, and then sends it to all council members. So that's going to change. It doesn't need review from legal. If a council member requests data or information, we don't question it. We send it to the city secretary. It's issued out, and there will be policy that the city manager will evaluate and create in order to get everything consistent. So that's the changes in that. The city manager will establish procedures. Also, it'll establish high confidentiality of forms as well on how to handle that. The only thing that the council members are not able to get will be medical records. Municipal court records have to go through the court, and police records need to go through the police chief, and things like that. Am I leaving anything out, Andrew?
Of course, there's the G file.
And the G file, yeah, 143 of the Civil Service Act, and that's the chief's file. So other than that, the supplemental documents in there is a draft confidential agreement that we'll ask the council to sign if you want to receive something that you want to look at. And also there's a draft administrative directive in here as well, and that would be the city manager's policy on how to handle, how personnel will handle the documents. And it's in here for your review as well. Some of the highlights are that we're not to question what they're for. We're not to deny the information. It goes to the city secretary for her review, or to contact the council member to receive the documents. So I'll answer any questions you might have.
Any questions from Mr. Medina about this matter?
These are all recommended ways of handling the procedure. Feel free to contact me if you see anything that we might want to add to that.
Mr. Botenheimer?
Yeah, I would just like, this is House Bill 2310, right, Mr. Mayor?
4310, yes, sir.
When did that take effect?
Yeah.
2025?
2020?
Yes, sir.
Okay, any further questions of Mr. Medina? Any questions from any member of the public? Mr. Thomason?
Evening, Mayor and Council. A quick question for Mr. Hagan on this. The confidentiality requirements. If a council member does not sign that, do they still get the information?
Yes, great question. Council members have a right to public information, including any information. So if the information happens to be confidential, then a council member will have the opportunity to sign the confidential use agreement, in which case the council member can look at the confidential information, inspect it, even make copies of it. If the council member does not sign the confidential use agreement, staff will still provide the information, but the confidential information will be redacted. Or, let's say page 1 is confidential, page 2 is not confidential, just give page 2.
And my other question was under the old policy, were council members restricted from receiving information?
Council members were not necessarily restricted, but the tension that we had at that time was the Open Meetings Act versus the Public Information Act. So for example, if one council member said, I want the information from a fellow council member, what was there to say no, other than if we had to provide that to all council members, then that would violate the Open Meetings Act, because now you're going with one council member's, information and giving that. Do you see what I mean? I'm not sure if you're, maybe just to be more precise. Suppose one council member drafts an ordinance and gives it to staff and says, staff, give me a review of this. And then another council member says, I would like a copy of that ordinance that the other council member drafted. Well, the ordinance that the council member drafted is deliberative material, and therefore if we had to provide that to all of the other council members, that would violate the Open Meetings Act because of the lack of quorum. But that was the only reason that legal was involved in that. But I think realistically, that just became kind of this thing that slowed stuff down, and this will be a better process.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Okay, any further? Yes, ma'am?
Yes, sir. I want to know, if this was something that was done in 2025, why is it that we're just putting it into effect now? And as far as the information, because, I kind of feel like, is that so that everybody can get the information?
Mr. Hagan?
Yeah, the state law is very much in favor of providing public information to the public. All of the records of the city belongs to the public. So really, you're not requesting the city's information, you're requesting your own information that you own. But the Public Information Act also takes some realities. So for example, there's confidential information, there's medical information, and there are other reasons that some information needs to be withheld. So
It's our information, do we not get to say whether who has access and who doesn't?
yeah, so if the city is going to withhold information from a public information request, then it must write to the Attorney General with very few exceptions.
Good enough, thank you.
Okay. Okay, any further comments, questions? Okay, what we have is a resolution which would amend the city's personnel policy in order to have it conform with the newly established statewide requirements governing a member of the governing body's right to access public information. What is your pleasure?
I move that we update the personnel policies to comply with state law.
I'll second.
Okay, motion been made and seconded. All in favor indicate by voting yes. All opposed by no. Passes unanimously. Okay, item number 19, first reading of an ordinance amending the purchase procedure manual to expand and clarify the city's authority to use cooperative purchasing methods. Mr. Medina.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is a resolution to amend Section 18 of our purchasing policy to allow us more flexibility to add cooperatives in the future. Right now, in this one, we're adding the National Association of State Procurement Officials, NASPA value point, so we want to add that cooperative to our purchasing policy, but currently it's a little cumbersome to add new cooperatives, and we're changing our policy to be able to add those a little bit easier at the staff level. So I'll answer any questions you might have. The value point cooperative is something I'm going to bring back to council with one of, I guess, Pitney Bowes on our postage machine in the future council meeting. But we'd like to add that and make the changes to Section 18 of our purchasing policy. I'll answer any questions you might have.
Any questions from any member of council or Mr. Medina about this request? Any questions from any member of the public? Okay, what we have is a request to amend an ordinance, amending Section 18 of the city ordinances relating to purchasing procedure to expand and clarify the city's authority to utilize cooperative purchasing methods in pre-bid contracts as may be authorized by Texas law. Any further discussion? Any debate? What is your pleasure?
I move that we approve.
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the amendment of that ordinance. All in favor indicate by voting yes. All opposed by no. Passes unanimously. All right, item number 20, first reading of an ordinance authorizing a convenience fee for certain card payments of ambulance and fire rescue service fees and a reimbursement fee for card payments to municipal court and amending the City of Big Spring City Code. Ms. Smith, can you further confuse us on this matter?
I can certainly try, Mayor. This actually is what we are doing now with the ambulance fees and the municipal court convenience fees. If you remember, probably 3 years ago, we brought to council an issue regarding credit card fees, and council at that time decided that the city would incur the cost of utility payments, the recreation, the golf course, the aquatic center. But state law allows a municipal court reimbursement fee of 3.95% and ambulance fees of 2% to recoup the cost for credit card payments. The only thing that this changes is we are adding fire and rescue service fees because we are in the process of implementing a fire billing service for when the fire department has to go out to a call outside the city limits. Council has passed this a couple of years ago. There were several things that needed to be in place before we can actually start the billing, but it doesn't affect citizens of Big Spring. It's those calls that are outside the city where the fire department might have to use Jaws of Life or some sort of rescue equipment. So it's just another billing service fee for credit cards for Emerja Fire, which is the sister company to Emerja Con, the one that does the ambulance billing. So it's just adding Emerja Fire to our convenience fee ordinance. I'll be happy to answer any confusion.
Any questions by me, any member of council of Ms. Smith about this matter? Any questions from any member of the public?
I just have one question. When y'all are charging these convenience fees, where are they actually being, allocated to? Like, is it something else towards the city or?
The city doesn't receive the fee. It goes to the credit card company or to these billing services.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? What is your pleasure?
I make a motion to approve.
All right, motion's been made and seconded to approve the authorization of that convenience fee as described in item number 20 on our agenda. All in favor indicate by voting yes. All opposed by no. Passes unanimously. Item number 21, consideration and possible action to approve an agreement with Atlantic Employee Screening for employment screening services. Mr. Medina.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We're seeking approval of an agreement with Atlantic Employee Screening. They do our background checks when we hire new employees. We used to use First Check, and they pretty much went out of business. They went ahead and shut the operations down. So we have entered into a temporary agreement with Atlantic, and we'd like to go ahead and continue using them for our background checks. I'll answer any questions you might have.
Any questions of Mr. Medina? Any questions from any member of the public? I move we approve the agreement with Atlantic Employee Screening. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by voting yes. All opposed by no. All right, passes unanimously. Item number 22, consideration of an amendment to the Black Forest Ventures Aviation RE LLC lease for premises at McMahon Wrinkle Airport for the proposed development of an 18,000 square foot aircraft hangar, 2,400 square feet of associated office space, and 5,000 square feet of vehicle parking lot adjacent to taxi runway Bravo and south of the fuel farm. Mr. Feely.
Mayor and members of the City Council, as Council is aware, Galaxy proposed $16 million worth of investment on the west side of our airport, $6 million in Phase 1, $10 million in Phase 2. Staff was exploring the idea of the city building a hangar for use as for a flight school or maybe a Civil Air Patrol facility. And with the city manager's concurrence, we communicated with Black Forest Ventures about that opportunity. Black Forest met with staff and suggested that they would like to build the hangar instead of the city, which is ideally the best way to develop on the airport anyway. The city's resources should be used for the infrastructure. So Galaxy, or Black Forest Ventures, is proposing to build, as the mayor said, an approximately 18,000 square foot hangar, 2,400 square foot office space, 5,000 square foot of parking area, all subject to FAA review and approval. So if the council approves of this action today, we will go forward with an FAA Form 7460-1 and request permission to develop on the airport with Black Forest Ventures. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Anyone have any questions of Mr. Feely about 174-60-1? What is that?
I apologize for, that's a notice of proposed construction or alteration on the airport. I should point out that Galaxy or Black Forest Ventures is proposing that the capital outlay associated with this hangar will deduct from the $6 million, or part of the $6 million in Phase 1 of their development.
Okay. Any questions about any member of council, Mr. Feely, about this request to amend the lease with Black Forest Ventures for the purposes described? Any questions from any member of the public? All right. What is your pleasure?
I'll make a motion to approve item 22.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor indicate by voting yes. All opposed by no. Passes unanimously. Item number 23, consideration and possible action to approve an agreement for professional services between the City of Big Spring and the law offices of Environmental Litigation Group, PC, to provide assistance with legal services and special expertise involving the collection of a delinquent obligation owed to the city by judgment and authorizing the city manager or his designee to execute any necessary documents. Mr. Hagan.
Mayor, members of council, I believe we are joined today, is it Mr. Olson from the Environmental Litigation Group? Are you online, sir? Let's see. Okay, our IT is working on it. Hopefully, we will make the connection. Okay, they can hear us, but we can't hear them. Their audio is not going over our speakers.
Mayor, our only other option would be to go into executive session and put them on the phone in the conference room.
He is a lawyer, so that would be allowed under contemplated litigation.
Come again?
So we have contemplated litigation on the agenda today, so we could get him on the phone if for some reason we can't get this working, and then speak to him in the conference room. But I guess basically what I would say this is there are chemicals, sometimes called forever chemicals, PFAS, and these chemicals were industrial products, and they are thought to be cancer-causing. There was a hit on the public water supply a few years ago for PFAS, and as a result, the city would be able to collect money in a class action litigation. I believe that's the case. Okay, now they can't actually hear us. So we might want to just postpone this for item 26 and then just talk to them in executive session.
All right. Do we have any time constraints that would keep us from postponing this without jeopardizing our position?
Yeah, I believe there is a deadline coming up, so it would be to the city's advantage to resolve this matter at this meeting.
At the next meeting?
At this meeting, Your Honor, if possible.
In executive session.
Yeah, well, I mean, to discuss it in executive session and then take any action in open session, of course.
Okay. All right, then we'll jump on down to item number 24 then. I'm not sure how this got on the agenda. This has to do with what I think was item number 10. Oh,
Hey, Mayor, I got a quick question on that. So relating around PFAS, when y'all go into executive session, you were obviously going to share something with us, and if there was any decisions that you needed to make in the executive session, I would kind of like to know what was going to be shared with the public, since we were going to do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it would, action would be an open session.
Okay.
all right, getting back to item number 24, at our prior meeting, one of the items under the category of consent had to do with the approval of a multi-use agreement with the Texas Department of Transportation for the installation and operation of automated license plate recognition cameras. My recollection is that we had a motion to approve that. A second, we voted on it and approved it. However, I have heard complaints that we're going to be sued because somebody wasn't allowed the opportunity to be heard. And so we'll cut that off at the pass. Anybody got anything they want to say about this tonight? Okay?
Standing right here?
Hmm?
Standing right here, yes, sir.
Okay, have at it.
Mayor and council, I want to tell you all a story. In 2024, a young lady was driving her daughters around. They were celebrating one of the daughters' birthdays. They had two other friends in the car with them in Aurora, Colorado. While they're driving around, an automated license plate reader camera operated by Flock tagged their car as a stolen vehicle out of Montana. The car didn't have Montana plates. Flock made a mistake, but it sent an alert that resulted in several police units responding, pulling the woman and her daughters out of the car, having them lay face down on the pavement, and had guns pointed at them. The youngest of this group was 6 years old. That cost the city of Aurora $1.9 million because of a mistake on the part of the automated license plate reader program. Now, estimates are that program's only about 90% effective in reading license plates. That means 1 out of 10 it gets wrong. The city is looking at further deployment of this with this agenda item. You are expanding a mass surveillance program. And I understand the arguments for having that program. But some of them ring false. Flock does not prevent crime. It's an investigative tool after the fact. But it uses alerts that can put the city at a lot of risk of liability. I would encourage the city not to deploy Flock cameras. But if you feel like you must, then the council really needs to exercise its duty of oversight and set a city ordinance directing the use of those cameras and directing the police department to give you a published policy on how they're used. You owe it to yourselves and the citizens to get this right. Again, I would recommend against any further deployments of Flock cameras. And in fact, I would strongly recommend against their use at all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Thomason. We passed it. You know, if in the future some council member wishes to put it on the agenda for some round of reconsideration or to repeal the resolution we'd earlier passed, we could do that. There's nothing we can do tonight with regard to them. Thank you, Mr. Thomason, for your presentation. Mr. Bodenheimer?
Hey, Mayor, council, staff, you know, heard Mr. Thomason talk about 90% right and 10% wrong. And I think as citizens, this is a very touchy subject for anybody because it does, and if it's in the wrong hands, it's just like we're fixing to go into, if you're not already aware of, the AI world. And if you get that AI in the wrong hands, and I think what Mr. Thomason's saying is there are policies and procedures that this council and staff can put in place so that this doesn't get it doesn't get utilized the wrong way. I'm going to give an example of one way that it was very positive. And I think at the same meeting, or in the same setting here, we talked about the murder that we had at KFC, right here in Big Spring. And if I recall, that license plate reader was a positive note of apprehending somebody who took somebody's life. So it's a touchy point, but I think I would rather be wrong in some issues. I mean, he gave the number of being 90% correct. I think I'd rather be 90% correct and take my risk of being 10% wrong, especially when it comes to a situation like that where we apprehended an individual who committed a murder and took somebody's life. So that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank both of you gentlemen for your comments. Yes, ma'am?
Yes, Mayor and Council. I'm kind of iffy on this situation too, especially with the mass surveillance, because I understand, yes, per Patriot Act, yes, we're being surveilled. We know that. We're aware of that. We've been aware of that for several years. But like I told a former police officer, it's not necessarily the surveillance, it's the AI behind it. And I don't think some of you understand or realize the magnitude of what AI can do. You know, sometimes when it can outthink the creator and it's, you know, pushing itself to not be terminated, you know, that's an issue. Like, that's a real issue. You know, when you can see a 9-year-old hack into even possibly these flock cameras, that's an issue. You know, the AI is so advanced that it's outthinking its creator. And yes, it has its mistake. I also understand, you know, the need for the, you know, solving the crime and whatnot. But like I said, we have surveillance across the town. Yes, we do. And, you know, old school detective work says this one has a camera, this one has a camera, let's put it together. That's what an investigation is, you know, putting all the pieces together. But once you start putting into AI and, you know, not understanding what it is or what it's capable of, you know, it does have that possibility for that mass, you know, just not even so much surveillance. It just has a potential to be dangerous, and I don't think that some people are aware of the extent of AI and what it's actually capable of or what it's doing at this moment, especially when the operators are telling it to shut down and it's sending bits and pieces of itself so that it can regenerate itself later. You know, that's a little scary. You know, that's a new world issue that I don't think any of us can tackle at the moment. So I would honestly say just heed a little caution with the AI because it's not 100% yet. It's really not. And that's what gives me pause about it, is when you can outthink the creator and you can turn yourself back on when you've been told to disarm. You know, it gets a little scary. I just want y'all to think about that just for a little minute.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Anyone else wish to be heard at this time?
Scott Emerson, 3808 West Highway 80. I thought I was going to make it through a meeting without getting up here. I'm actually here to bring to your attention a point of order. The flock cameras y'all approved a donation for the flock cameras 4 meetings ago. It came to a second reading, passed then. I got up and spoke against both those. This is actually a resolution to work with TxDOT to put them into the right-of-way of the road. In my opinion, we brought back up the wrong resolution. So that's my point, is this isn't about the flock cameras. This resolution is about putting them in the right-of-way of the road. This makes no sense.
Anybody else wish to be heard? Okay, we're going to go into executive session. All right,
Yes, sir.
we'll take a 5-minute break and we'll convene back in the, we're gonna do it in here?
We will need to be in the conference room.
Okay, all right, 5 minutes. going back into open session with regard to item number 23 on the agenda, as well as discussing with the attorney certain pending litigation. However, it appears that we're going to... Who did that? It appears that we're going to be able to take up item number 23 and visit with somebody without him going into open executive session on that. So let's go ahead and take up item 23, consideration and possible action to approve an agreement for professional services between the City of Big Spring and the Law Offices of Environmental Litigation Group to provide assistance with legal services involving collection of a delinquent obligation owed to the city by judgment and authorizing the city manager or his designee to execute any necessary documents. Mr. Hagan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Sorry for the technical thing that went wrong there. I believe we have Mr. Olson on the phone. Mr. Olson, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So Mr. Olson, I believe you're an attorney, and are you with that firm, Law Offices of Environmental Litigation Group? And if so,
Yes, I am with Environmental Litigation Group.
Could you please explain the whole thing to us? Our council members, we have members of the public listening in too.
Yeah, so this is a multi-district litigation over PFAS that was, it's located in South Carolina. There was a settlement for municipal water systems in 2023, and the city of Big Springs is eligible for some money from this settlement. It's a small PFAS hits in your water system. It's not a terribly large amount of money, but a decent chunk, and it would require some documents from the city, flow rate data, PFAS testing, and we would handle the entire claim on your end.
There was a settlement of a class action suit. Is that my understanding?
Yes, sir. It was a class settlement for a multi-district litigation over PFAS contamination in municipal water systems.
What was Big Spring a party to that litigation?
No, but they're an eligible class member.
Is it relevant? What was the total amount of the settlement, and how do we determine how much Big Spring would be entitled to out of that settlement? What's that process?
The total amount is upward of $14 billion for water systems across the country. I don't really have an estimate for you guys specifically. I'd say somewhere between 500,000 and $1 million for Big Springs. But that would take us going through the data to give you a accurate estimate, but somewhere in that realm.
So what's involved in processing that claim for those funds? Tell me how you go about doing that. What all's involved?
We would have to review your flow rates and any PFAS testing that you guys have done on the city water system. We would file this with the court or the special master that's running the settlement by July 31st. And there's also a pot of money available for any remediation or PFAS-related work that you guys have done prior. And then in the future, there are several other settling defendants, and we could get you money from those settlements that are upcoming as well. It's a relatively simple process. Just requires a firm with some knowledge of the process, and we're on the leadership committee in this MDL. We've done thousands of these. We represent water systems across the country and are very capable of handling this.
Is there any restriction on how the money might be used if the city were to recover anything?
There is not. There's potential PFAS regulation upcoming. I don't think anybody really knows when that will be. So it would be my advice to use it for some sort of PFAS remediation, but there is no restrictions or anything placed on this.
In the event that that your firm is not able to recover anything, is there still a fee that would be assessed to the city under this contract?
No, sir. If we do not collect, you guys do not have to pay.
Okay. Mr. Botenheimer?
Yes, sir. I would ask what the fee is if we do collect. You know, if you give us some, 500,000 to $1 million as a guesstimate, you know, obviously there's ballpark, but what this is long-term, like, how would that be?
It's a 22% fee under the contract.
22%? Thank you.
I'm sorry, I don't know any more than I did before we started.
So I guess, Mr. Olson, could you advise your potential client, what are the pros and cons of going with this agreement of yours?
Yeah, so this money's just sitting out there. The deadline is July 31st, and it covers any water system that's detected this in the country. If you wait past the 31st, you are completely out of luck. And this is the 3M settlement, which is the bulk of the liability, the bulk of the money. Actually, let me rephrase that. 3M and DuPont, which I think 3M settled for $14 billion. DuPont was about 10% of that. So this is the major money that's on the table at this time. There are future settlements potentially upcoming, much smaller. Time is really of the essence with that July deadline looming. A lot of water systems have opted out if they have an obvious source of PFAS somewhere in the city limits or upstream. But with a system like yours, there's money sitting on the table, and there's no reason not to take it if you have the opportunity.
What are the thresholds? I mean, is there a threshold? Yes, we've been detected with some PFAS in our testing samples. We haven't had any more hits that I'm aware of, other than those. I mean, if you're clean now, but you had a hit earlier, I don't understand how the thresholds work on the PFAS for this class action and our claim. You said it goes towards remediation. But if we're not detecting anything now and only had the one hit, is the claim just for the hit?
Yes, sir. It's the levels are the threshold is very low. The proposed federal rule puts it at 4 parts per trillion, and that's what this settlement is based off of. You guys have had some hits that are a little higher than that. Nothing over 10, I believe. But the numbers get a lot better and the payouts get a lot better over 4. So you'd be in prime position for that, even with the low hits. And like I said, there's no restrictions on the money. So if you haven't had hits since those original hits, that would be up to you about what to use that money for. But if you didn't want to use it for remediation, you really don't have to.
Is there a downside risk? Like, let's say the city hires you and it turns out that we really don't, are we going to have like liability to 3M or something like that, or to the court?
No, not at all. This is it's already settled litigation, and we'll just be filing your claim for the.
So it's my recommendation that City Council would go ahead and approve this. I mean, there's money sitting on the table. Most likely, we can get, $400,000 or more, preferably more, as much as possible, for the city's use.
How do they arrive at a settlement without knowing the potential damages among various litigants? How do they, I can't imagine saying, well, we're going to settle this lawsuit among all the defendants for X number of dollars. How do you arrive at that figure without knowing how many complainants are going to be coming in wanting a part of the pot? I don't understand that.
The 3M and DuPont there's a list. It's available as an SEC filing online, and it includes all eligible claimants. They went through and every water system over, I want to say 3,300 people, 3,300 people is eligible, and there's been some sweeping federal PFAS testing, so they have an idea of how many claimants are actually eligible, and a fairly good idea. There's only a finite number of water systems in the country, and pair that with federal testing, they're able to, that's how they arrived at that number. So, and yeah.
Well, if that's the case, then obviously if they say, okay, Dallas is a potential claimant. They've got a population of, say, 5 million people, I don't know. Big Spring is a possible claimant with a population of 20,000, 25,000. Dallas's claim is going to be worth X number of dollars, and Big Spring's claim is going to be worth X number of dollars. How do they go about that?
It's there's an underlying formula. It takes your highest PFOA and PFOS score. If you have those, if you have the other PFAS species, there's a little more involved formula. They're scored lower anyway, and that doesn't apply to you guys because you have PFOA and PFOS. And they pair that with your annual flow rates on your water system as well as the maximum allowed, and that brings you to the number. It's a little more detailed than I just put out there, but it essentially flow rates crossed with how much PFAS is in your water.
Mr. Emerson?
Well, I thought Andrew had asked the question, and I'm not sure he did. If we take this money and one of our citizens has been affected by this or been diagnosed with something, does that open the municipality up to have to pay them a portion of this settlement? And second, would we not be on a list of cities that filed on this? And so let's say a company's looking to come to town and they're like, it's us and 3 other cities, and the other three cities have not filed on this, but now we're on this list that says we admit that we have this problem. To me, I'm just wondering, could it be a negative thing for development?
No, as far as the personal, or the first part of that question goes, there's a personal injury track to this as well, and we're a part of that. There's no cities, no municipalities being sued. It all goes back on the manufacturers, primarily 3M and a few others that took over when 3M stopped producing PFAS. That includes DuPont, some other large chemical companies. And all these filings are confidential. We would not be filing a complaint for you guys. That would be public record. That would have had to be done before this settlement, so that ship has sailed. There are future settlements where you could file a complaint and possibly get a bump. I would recommend not doing that if you want to keep things confidential. But the whole settlement process within the special master's control is all confidential. And some of these results are already public record, but that's few and far between from one federal testing that was done between 2023 and I think 2025.
I would ask that this council, if we decide to do this, you earmark the money for water treatment. Thank you.
Mayor, one other statement I want to make is under section 2.1 of this agreement, it says the percent collected is 11 by this contract, not 22.
Oh, it's 11?
11%. Under 2.1.
Oh, yeah.
But on the calc, it says 11%.
So are there actually 2 agreements? There's class action capital and environmental litigation, so it's a total of 33%?
That sounds correct. Yeah, there's a claims service provider that is working with us on this.
Okay, so the fee would actually be 33% total.
Yeah, that's correct.
The fee is 33%. It's
33%?
22% for the law firm and 11% for class action capital recovery. But, I mean, the alternative is nothing, so I think this is a positive.
Mr. Emerson?
I'm sorry, might I ask how many other municipalities you represent, and are there any in this West Texas area?
Did you hear the question, Mr. Olson?
Hello?
I don't know if we have him anymore. IT, do we still have him? No.
FYI, Verizon has had an issue. I don't know if that's part of it, but they have had an issue with down service today.
I mean, we've talked to the firms before, and basically the thing is, yes, they do represent other municipalities, not a lot in Texas, but that's, you know, I don't know. I just don't see a lot of risk here and only upside.
Well, no, there's no risk if you don't pay anything, if you don't get anything. That's not the question. I'm not prepared, without knowing more about this, to know what it is they're going to do to earn the fee. If this is simply a matter of preparing a claim and submitting it, then I'm not, you know, you can say, well, it's that or nothing. I don't know if this is the only law firm that does this. I've got to know, you know, if they got $1 million, we pay them $311,000 for filing some papers? I mean, what kind of expertise is involved in this? I don't, you know, and quite frankly, I don't even know where to go find the answers right now. But I'm not prepared tonight to say, oh, I'm all for entering into a deal where we're going to give them 33% of everything they recover for us, and without knowing what they're going to do to earn that, how difficult it is. You know, they're supposed to be our advocate. I'm sorry, Andrew, I got to know more than that before I'm, you know, he did say the deadline is July 31st, not June 31st. So.
Yeah, I mean, if council doesn't want to proceed, you know, we can either just basically try to do it ourselves. I mean, if I'm not able to, then I'll let you know, I guess.
Well, I'm for putting it on the agenda for the next council meeting. In the meantime, try to find out as much as we can about who handles this kind of litigation, what's involved in this particular deal. You know, quite frankly, and it may be that it's a very difficult process. They're going to spend a lot of time with our folks making our case of what we would be entitled to out of this, and I might be convinced that that's a reasonable fee for their efforts. I'm certainly going to feel like a fool if I find out there really wasn't all that much to it. You know, done one, you've done them all. You know, simply a matter of cut and paste and paying $300,000 or whatever. I'm for postponing this till the next council meeting. Anybody have any problem with that?
No.
Okay. So we'd still have time before July 31st. Unless he says, well, it's now do or die. If he says, well, either today or not at all. Then
I did get email from Mr. Olson. They have one other client in Texas that is a city plus 300 nationwide, plus some private Texas locations. So I don't know if that really changes anything that you said.
Well, I mean, that's my opinion. So I'm willing to listen to anybody who thinks we ought to just sign up right now. I'm a little bit concerned about the idea of one party representing a whole bunch of litigants. That's kind of like a guy, a lawyer goes in and he says, I got 10 cases. You know, if you'll give me this on this one, I'll take this on that one. You know, I want somebody looking after me, not Dallas. I realize, Andrew, you don't have time to do it, or frankly, not the experience to do it, but I've got to know more than this for. I'm fixed to jump off and say, we'll pay 33% or whatever you get us. And then,
I understand that. My recommendation will stand. I think you can go ahead and vote on this today and just move ahead. But Mayor, I definitely understand what you want, and if council doesn't want to move forward with this, I will do more research on it personally and see what I can do, and if we can't get more information on it.
I'm not sure I understand, Andrew. I mean, I'm saying I don't really want to do it, and you're telling me, tell me why I should do this.
My concern is that if we don't go with them, they may decide that the next meeting isn't soon enough, and they couldn't legitimately be our lawyer as of June 23 or June 24, because they wouldn't have time to complete the claim. I don't know. That's my concern, that we're at the stopping point and we're leaving substantial money on the table.
So how did we get this late to the party?
So we've been talking to them for a couple of years, and
Nobody's told me about it.
if you recall, I did bring it up in council in meetings the last couple of last months or so. There was a conference with them, and but in any case, a couple of years ago, the situation was they wanted a contingent fee, but at that point, that was not allowed by state law. At this point, there's really no doubt as to the money being available, therefore it doesn't qualify, in my opinion, as a contingent fee under state law, because there's no doubt as to the outcome. The outcome is already done, it's a settlement. And so they brought that to my
In a normal lawsuit and something like this, first off, you got the question of liability, and secondly, you got the question of damages. Apparently, the question of liability has already been determined here because there's a pot to pay damages. The question becomes, how much is our share of that damages? Yeah. And how hard is that to prove? I mean, what do we have to prove?
That's what I thought. So the contingent fee issue with state law wouldn't come up. But if you would prefer that, we'll tackle that as staff. I mean, I'm prepared to dive into that. It's no problem.
Mayor, just a stupid question from the airport. Why can't we submit our own claim without having to use external counsel to do it?
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, if this is something that it's a very difficult process to engage in, and it requires a lot of expertise, and people who've navigated the water before, and very few of them, that's one thing, but, you know, well,
One thing he said that there would be other settlements too. How are we going to know about those if somebody doesn't advise us?
Well, Andrew has asked that we vote on it tonight, so if anyone wants to make a motion that we agree to enter into this agreement with this folks tonight, and if that motion is seconded, we will vote on it. Short of that, I'm going to put it on the agenda for our next council meeting and hopefully be in a little bit better position to evaluate it. I suppose at the risk of them saying, well, you're too late, we're turning you down now. What is your pleasure?
I can promise you after tonight's meeting, I'll have 15 attorneys calling me tomorrow wanting your business.
They're everywhere, they're everywhere.
Quick Google search. June 2023, this lawsuit happened, and 3M agreed to pay $12.5 billion to settle lawsuits. Since then, August 2023, October 2023, November 2024, March 2025, May 2025, August 2025. That's how many more major settlements. Those are the ones where he's talking about cleanup. So there might be some more money available. I'm going to go out on a limb and say once you're in this system for one, you're probably going to be in it for all, and there could be some money available. I can understand Andrew's point of saying let's pass it tonight. We can see what's in the bill later. you know, kind of like Congress did on a couple of things just to make the deadline. But I mean, it's a real deal. It's out there, and there's a lot more to follow, it looks like.
I'm sure the amount is contingent upon how many cities join that class action suit as well. Because the more cities you have participating, the less pot is going to decrease. I wouldn't want a family law lawyer working for me on an environmental issue. Somebody that practices in the area of family law, that's just, you want an expert. I don't know the navigation of it, Mayor, it could be something very simplistic, it could be something very difficult. I do not know.
If there's that kind of money out there in a settlement like this, maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea to start trying to pursue a grant to replace our plant. What is it, $50 million to replace our treatment plant? If there's billions of dollars out there in this settlement, maybe we ought to be trying to find a grant to replace the whole plant.
Well, the remediation of PFAS is not through our treatment process. It cannot remove it.
Can you get Mr. Olson back on the phone?
IT. I'll see if I can do it.
Staff recommendation from me would be that we postpone it to your next meeting, give us more
Do what?
opportunity. That we do postpone it until your next meeting, give us the opportunity to give you a little bit more. Well, I think you need more information than what we're able to provide you tonight.
You can get it out and get it addressed, I can rock it.
Trey, if you're able to put them on, go ahead.
I think he's talking to you.
I was left her, like, I wasn't ready, I usually like watch her when he gets ready.
Is Trey trying to get him on the phone, or?
Andrew went to see if he thought he had him on the phone, he's checking to see if he is. But in the real world, talking about PFAS in our water system, it is a constituent that we will be testing for, or have been testing for, and will require thresholds that we stay under in order to meet the PFAS standard threshold. Whether we get any money or not, our current standard of treatment for our plant cannot remove PFAS. Shane, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're exactly correct. There's only two known ways to remove PFAS, which we currently don't have. One is activated carbon filters, and the other one is RO. So we would have to do a major overhaul to our plant if we ever exceed those, they call maximum contamination levels. Like I said, rules were passed, this was about a year ago, where we're now required to monitor PFAS, and then if we actually start having these high hits, we're going to have to do something to mitigate this. The hits that we're talking about today, they happened in 2023. We believe that there was something in our source water, because as you know, we get our source water from 3 different lakes. So we believe one of those lakes had some PFAS in it, and that's what caused the hit. We have not gotten that since, so we hope that's behind us, but we'll have to continue monitoring it.
Mr. Olson, can you hear us? Yeah, I can hear you guys. Can you hear that through the microphone? Can you give us an overview of what your firm, and Capital Recovery will do to earn the 33%? Why can't I, as a lawyer who basically has not much experience in environmental law or class action litigation, simply do this?
Yeah, so we're here to really maximize your claim. It's something that could be done by maybe a water system guy if they really wanted to dig into the data. That being said, though, we have intimate knowledge of the settlement agreements, the technical aspects that go into these claim submissions. We've had several, including a former client of ours who hired us. They had their in-house attorney do it, did it wrong. They didn't get any money. We've had several calls with potential clients who had issues. They got it submitted. They didn't get any money because they did it wrong. It's very, very specific, very technical. It's something we've done many, many times over. And on top of that, we're also on the litigation leadership. So we're in the know with anything that happens to do with this, any upcoming settlements, when money's being released. We're as close to the top of this as you can really get. And it's something we specialize in. It's and anything that actually went to litigation. Sorry about that. Anything that actually went to litigation in the future, we'd be available to help. It's a very niche area of law, PFAS litigation, the specific settlement. So it's not something I would recommend having general counsel do. It's something that is best sent to an outside attorney.
Mr. Olson, what detriment is there to the city of Big Spring if we don't give you an answer until June 23rd on this?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
I said, is there any downside or are we placing ourselves in any kind of jeopardy or detriment if we hold off giving you an answer until June 23rd?
June 23rd? No, the settlement is, the deadline is July 31st. And if I may ask, you guys have several surface water plants, correct, and no wells?
We get well water as well. We're members of a water district.
Okay, the more wells you have, the more complicated it gets. That being, and the bigger the system is, the more data, but June 23rd is perfectly fine. We can get it done easily.
We treat for surface water and well water.
Okay, I remember that.
Yeah. Well, if that's the case, then no objection to, postponing this until June 23rd, Mayor.
We'll have an answer on June 23rd.
Okay, sounds like we would like to postpone this. Nothing negative, but at this point, we'd just like to postpone action until council would meet and then make their own final decision on June 23rd, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Olson. Appreciate your time, sir.
Feel free to send me any questions you have in the meantime.
Thank you so much for your time. Bye. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, it's 7:15. We are now going to go into executive session to discuss with our attorney pending litigation, okay? It's 7:15.
We don't have to do anything on
We
that.
don't need to do anything on that?
No,
No.
there's no action, no motion on it.
Okay, we are out of executive session. It is 7:48, and no action to be taken as a result of our executive session. Is there any further business to come before council before we adjourn? Going. All right. Does anybody desire to make a statement before we adjourn? We
I
are
do, Mayor.
adjourned. Huh?
No. I do. We'll get it next time.
Well, go ahead, we'll stay and hear you.
My deal was just to Susan, I want to thank you for everything that you've done, even with the parks and everything else. I know there have been some incidents to where I've gotten calls, complaints or anything else. Here's my suggestion was to her, is like, if your employees, and I know they do a good job, that's just like our city workers, the truck drivers. If we're behind and we're shorthanded, we can get you later on that day or the next morning. These employees that are cutting grass or anything else, they have to realize, it's like, they got to do maintenance to that park. My suggestion was to Susan was to shut off that water to the splash pad. Let your maintenance workers do their job. Thank you. Todd, thank you for everything you do. Chief Williams, thank you.
Okay, now we're really adjourned.
No, thank you, everybody, for everything. Shane, thank you for the fire hydrant. Todd, for taking all my calls. Everybody, good night.
Oh.